my advisors haven't been lying to me. You guys know how that goes. Some of you, you just never know. So I'll have to meet with my advisor here soon. Second of all, I'll have to pass my classes, which has been a stretch recently. And third of all, I'm really hoping I don't kick the bucket early due to my severe caffeine addiction. So if you guys could be praying for me on those few things, yes, I am being dead serious on that. That would be appreciated. But I'm super thankful to have this opportunity to talk to you all tonight as we continue on in this series about fasting. And in fasting, we're talking about how that cultivates, creates, and maintains our connection with God. And as we dive in today, I wanted to share why I find it funny that I'm the one that's talking about fasting. First of all, for instance, this is a very new spiritual practice in my life that I've been implementing over the last 3 or 4 months, seriously. So I'm learning and I'm growing in the same way that you guys are. And second of all, it's a lot more surface level. I just love food, so that's me and some sushi. I did end up killing all that. So anyone else rock with sushi in the same way that I do? Yeah, that's what we like to hear. So the few who clapped, we're gonna have a community sushi night sometime or something. But as we get rolling, I want to explain why I care about fasting now, because if you were to ask me 4 months ago what I thought about fasting, I honestly would have told you I don't know. I would have told you I don't care, and then I would have asked you if you wanted to go get sushi. So that's just where I'm coming from, but I want to be honest about where I'm at because I think our stories are important. I think in our stories it's not only important to know where we're at right now, but it's important for us to know where we come from. I think that helps us discern where we're going. So travel back in time with me as we pay a visit to high school Josiah. So I don't know how well you can see that, but that is me. If you can tell, I put a lot of effort into this fit. I bought this hoodie because it matched my shoes. I ended up posting it on Instagram, if that tells you anything, and now I just look at old pictures of myself and I want to throw up. Anyone else the same way? Okay. Anyways, at surface level, you would probably look at me and think that I'm doing all right. You know, my dad was the pastor of my home church, so I grew up in this context where I'm going to church, I'm surrounded with, just drank a Dr. Pepper. I grew up in this loving church community. I'm serving in the kids ministry. On the outside, if you were to see me, I look like I have it all together. I'm a respectful kid. You know, I care for those around me. I was striving to look like I had it together, yet behind the scenes, if I'm being real with you, this was like rock bottom point in my life. Like, you want to talk about down horrendous, that was me at this point. I was battling drug addiction, lust, drinking, a bunch of other things were going on behind the scenes, and that was all behind the mask that I would put on for other people. You know, this might sound a little bit pathetic, but this is just me being honest. I vividly remember the nights of just crying alone in my room because I couldn't shake the addictions that had a hold on me. If I'm being honest with you guys, for most of my life, I just tried to market and present myself in a way that I knew was acceptable instead of really dealing with the core of my issues. So to illustrate what I lived out, I want you guys to take a look at this with me. I got 2 chairs here. One says me, one says God. It's because that chair is God's, this one's mine, if you guys are tracking with me. I got a whiteboard here. This whiteboard, it represents my life and everything in my life. Not everything, but again, you get the gist. And then I've got a pen over here, and this pen represents control. This pen represents authorship. This pen represents writing your life. So I'm a freshman in college. I'm going to Ozark Christian College in Joplin, Missouri. Does anyone know where that is? Tornadoes, yeah. Tornado decimated the city like 10 years ago. Not the best thing to be known for. But my freshman year in college, I'm sitting here. I'm going to try not to destroy this thing. It's very nicely done. I'm sitting here, and I'm confronting all this stuff in my life for the first time on a serious level. I'm sitting here with God, and I'm reflecting, and I'm saying, God, I don't know where I'm at right now, but I want to experience real transformation in my life. I want to change. I don't hear him. I don't feel his presence, to be real with you. And I say to God, it's because of all this, isn't it? It's because I haven't sorted through a lot of this crap in my life. Well, you know, if I get a grip, if I can get some control, if I can shake the addictions that have a hold on me, we'll be good, and I'll experience some transformation, and then we'll be cool, right? And so what do? To be real, I waste no time in getting going. My freshman year, I'm I'm shaking my addictions. I'm getting rid of the drinking, the drugs, the lust. I start being honest with people about where I'm at in life. I really dive into basketball. I start to see some success. I start to perform. My relationships thrive. I'm growing. I'm working hard. And I'm even starting to serve in the church and stuff more seriously. Oh, almost destroyed the light there. As I'm doing all that, though, I can't say that I feel any different internally. But nonetheless, I'm changing, right? So as some time goes by, I sit back down with God. All right, I'm sitting here, I'm like, hey, you peep that? You see that? I got some control. I finally got rid of those addictions, And it's just like crickets. I still don't feel any different in here, and I still can't feel God's presence there. And now I'm confused, I'm frustrated with God, and I'm like, dude, is this not enough for you? I just got rid of all those addictions, I just changed all those things, when is it going to be enough for you? And so frustrated by this lack of real transformation in my life, I just continued with the grind, continued to work harder. Maybe you're here tonight and your whiteboard of your life might look similar to mine, different details, but the same problem still remains. We are the ones that are holding the pen. You guys want to know what I was missing all those years that I was straining towards trying to just fix and control everything? We can't fix ourselves or will ourselves towards real transformation. Matter of fact, the prerequisite for transformation is surrender. You see, the way we approach our relationship with God is often wrong despite having some good intentions behind it. I don't think any of you would disagree with me and say that my intentions were bad when I was trying to get a grip, when I was trying to stop drinking, when I was trying to stop smoking, when I was trying to put the pieces together. I'm sure I speak for a lot of you guys when I say that you guys want growth in your life, you want transformation, you want renewal, you want intimacy with the Lord, you want to know that He's actually there. Is that fair? But we often pursue control over all this because surrender feels like a loss. But I'm here to tell you tonight that surrender does not equal defeat. Surrender is actually how we let God lead in our lives. If you guys want to experience real transformation in your lives, it needs to be structured a lot more like this. This dynamic that I was trying to figure out is supposed to be like, Lord, by being with you, now picture me moving the whiteboard over here, okay? It's too heavy to move. By putting everything at your feet, figuratively, and by giving you control, by giving you the pen, by giving you authority to write my life, then we will experience transformation and renewal. Author Andrew Murray has this powerful quote. He says, God is ready to assume full responsibility for the life that is wholly yielded to Him. See, this surrender, this yielding of our lives, we are not the first to struggle with this. It's not like this is a new thing to humans. Oh, I struggle with surrender. Matter of fact, we jump back to the book of Acts and we look at this dude named Paul. And Paul is a guy that God used to write 13 of the 27 books in the New Testament. God used him to spread the good news of Jesus to all sorts of different people groups, do these amazing works for God. But before he was Paul, he was Saul. Saul was a guy who had control, he had power, he had authority, he had respect. People looked to him. If he said something, it was done. Things are going pretty smooth for him until he is on the road to Damascus and he is confronted by none other than Jesus himself. He says, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? Why are you killing my people? Why are you dragging my people away to prison? It follows in Acts 9:9 by saying, for 3 days he was without sight and neither ate nor drank. Paul fasts. Author A.W. Tozer kind of expands on coming to the end of yourself in this way. He says, I'm going to tweak the language of this a little bit. He says, the reason why many of us are still troubled, why we are still seeking, why we are still making little forward progress is because we have not yet come to the end of ourselves. We are still trying to give orders and interfering with God's work within us. Here in this moment, Paul is finally at the end of himself. It's interesting, the guy who always gave the orders is now the guy who is receiving all the orders. The pen, you see, is finally in God's hands. The only thing that Paul is left with in this moment are the words of Jesus. Jesus says to him, "Rise, enter the city, and you will be told what to do." And you guys know what I find really interesting about this? Only once the pen, the control, is out of Paul's hands can he hear God. I know that doesn't make things easier for us, because if you're anything like me, you want direction, you want a 10-step process to success, can't talk, become a millionaire, whatever the thing is, we want some direction. I think the reason that we struggle with surrender is because we want control in a world full of uncontrollables. So I take it upon myself to try and create some predictability, some stability, yet true surrender looks like obedience without knowing what's next. At this moment, Paul did not know what was next, and if I'm being real with you, I don't think that would have mattered. The same thing applies for us, because this was not about Paul needing to correct all his actions, although that is a result of transformation. This was about Paul needing to correct his heart, which effort alone cannot do. In this moment, he's at the end of himself, and actions can no longer cover up what's within his heart. We take a look at the book of Joel in the Old Testament, and we dig into this further. Joel 2:12 through 13. "Turn to me now while there is time. Give me your hearts. Come with fasting, with weeping and mourning. Don't tear your clothing in your grief, but tear your hearts instead." I want to pause here on what God is saying to Paul. It's what he says to me. It's what he says to you in this very moment. But first, notice what he is not saying. He's not saying, "Give me your progress." He's not saying, "Fix everything." He's not saying, "Give me your best performance." God says clearly, "Give me your hearts," not "Give me your best performance." He follows in saying, "Don't tear your clothing in your grief." So in simple terms, what he's saying is, don't settle for external displays or hollow rituals that don't change your inner being. And I realized as I was reading this that all that I was doing myself, trying to check off sins, trying to override the true problems that I had in my life, performing for God, trying to will myself towards transformation, that was just me tearing my clothing. It looked spiritual, yet my heart was not surrendered. You see, the pen, the control, it was still in my hand. I knew the right Christian things to do because I had the head knowledge. But if I'm being real, I never felt anything in my heart. I pursued external displays instead of internal change. See, Pascal Blaise, he has this cool quote. He says, "The heart has her ways for which the mind knows nothing." There was this big disconnect between my heart and my head for a very long time as I was wrestling with all this. And if you guys want to know where, dude, I'm parched, man. All this yapping gets my mouth dry. Unreal. If you guys want to know where my story started to take a turn, where my head and my heart started to connect, I'll take you back to my freshman year of college, that same year when I'm processing through all that garbage. It's late one night. I'm sitting in the gym parking lot. It's funny, I could pinpoint to you exactly where I was parked at. This was, for some context, my parents had caught me with drugs a number of times throughout high school, and you can kind of imagine the tension that it caused, given that my dad was a pastor and his son is kind of running in the complete opposite direction. And as a man standing here before you today, I can honestly say that I made my parents' life a lot harder than it needed to be. I call my dad, right? And I apologize to him. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. You're probably sitting there thinking, "Dude, you probably needed to, you jerk." And it's like, yeah, I did, but stick with me for a moment as I further explain. For the first time, I didn't apologize because I felt like that's what I was just supposed to do. For the first time, I didn't apologize out of a response to being caught with something. I hadn't experienced any transformation at this point in my life. Matter of fact, I had not done anything yet, and that is my entire point. I was no longer putting on some fake external display of change. I finally realized that the only route forward was surrender to the pursuit of internal change in my heart. Maybe tonight, The whiteboard of your life is full. I don't know what you're battling with, but I do know for sure, if you're like any human ever, you probably got some things that you're proud of, and you probably got some things that you're ashamed of. You got some things you're trying to fix. Whatever the thing might be, the truth is you still might be holding the pen. You still might be holding control. Maybe you've taken it upon yourself to try and fix things in the same way that I tried to do. If you're going to hear anything, hear this right now. God isn't asking you to fix your life. He asks you to hand over control. He's not asking you for your progress. God is asking you for your heart. My question for you tonight is, what is keeping you from handing God the pen, handing God control of your life? What's written on your board that you feel the need to take upon yourself to be the one to try and fix instead of letting God transform? You see, that surrender that we so often greatly fear is much like a tidal wave in any ways, or a tsunami, or whatever type of verbiage you want to use to explain one of these things. Before a tidal wave hits, there's this kind of weird and eerie moment where all the water starts to recede, everything starts to pull back. The ocean floor is kind of laid bare, it's dry. People stand there confused when they should be running. They're like, oh, what's going on? Why is the water receding? I mean, it certainly does not feel like a wave is coming. Matter of fact, I would say it feels like everything is leaving. And that's exactly what fasting feels like. It's the pullback, it's the surrender, it's the letting go, it's the hunger, it's the ache, it's the silence. It's your soul creating space for the wave to come. In fasting, it makes you feel like everything is emptying out. That's why it's hard, but that's also the point. It's because God is about to flood in with a wave of transformation, of renewal, and intimacy with God that you have never experienced before. Just like a tidal wave, the pullback of fasting has a purpose. It is preparation. And maybe tonight in this moment, God is inviting you into that voluntary pullback through fasting, not to perform, not to tear your garments, not to be seen, not to fix yourself, but because when we surrender in the hidden places, we clear space for God to write. Create space for God to send a wave. You see, when you work out, you feel weak when you're actually getting stronger. When you're learning something new, you feel dumb, but you're actually getting a little bit smarter, just a little bit. When you go to therapy or counseling because you feel broken, you're actually healing. When you prune a tree, it gets smaller, but it is the preparation to bear more fruit. When you fast, it feels like everything is emptying out. It feels like everything is leaving, but that is because God is about to send a wave of transformation and renewal in your soul. 2 Corinthians 4:16 through 17. That is why we never give up. Though our bodies are dying, our spirits are being renewed every day. For our present troubles are small and won't last very long, yet they produce for us a glory that vastly outweighs them and will last forever. See, what feels like a loss when we fast is actually the prelude to breakthrough in our lives. It's not about being strong like we think, and it's funny that that's actually what Paul came to learn throughout his journey with God, that God's strength is perfected in our weakness. It's always been about coming to the end of yourself because that's where God starts. That's where we give God permission to write in our lives. So here's what I want to sit with tonight as a community. What if we stopped trying to write our own story? What if we stopped with this whole progress chart thing? And what if we stopped with wearing the mask that we feel like we're supposed to wear instead of just being who God says we are? What if we put the pen down and we gave it to the one true author? What if this was the night or the week or the summer that we all pulled back together? Look, I don't know what your whiteboard, what your life looks like. I don't know what keeps you up late at night. I don't know what breaks you down thinking about. But the one thing that I do know tonight, whether I know you or not, whether I've got the chance to know you or not, God is after your heart. Let me tell you that God is not after your performance. God is not after your unique and special contributions to the world. I know you guys are pretty cool. You guys have a lot to offer. But God is not after that, okay? And God is also certainly not after the shame, the guilt, and the regret that you feel for some of the stuff that's on there in your life. God doesn't want none of that. God wants your heart. As we walk away from tonight, please do not walk away with another to-do list. I'm not saying throw everything out the window, but what I'm telling you to do is walk away with a surrendered heart, and maybe that's through fasting. When we fast and we turn the pen over, the one thing that I've learned throughout my journey so far, the last 3 months in particular, is that God is a far better writer than I will ever be. So tonight in your groups, as we talk about this, I would love for you guys to truly unpack who is really in control of your life and where do you need to allow God to truly write. Pray with me. God, we are done trying to write, to control, and be the authors of our story. We are done trying to fix and earn what is already freely given to us in your love. We know that you are far better of an author than we could ever be. We surrender here tonight in the hidden places, everything that we're trying to override. God, we don't want to settle for external displays. The one thing we want in this moment is internal change. Thank you, God, for just this group, this community, and what you have planned for them in their lives. Amen. So, as we step out of the night and head into this next section of our night, just a quick reminder for you, we are all learning, we are all growing. None of us are experts or theologians quite yet. You know, some of us are probably getting there, so enjoy the conversation tonight as we figure this out together, and I just pray that you experience community here. So enjoy your conversations.